Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do the queen. I opened up the bishop file and I'm saving this as king. And so the similarity between the two pieces are so great that I can just go ahead and start with my bishop. I'm going to delete part of it. The bases are almost the same. And so if I come in here and delete the top part of the bishop, I have a base that I can start with. It's almost identical. I'm just going to hit X and then delete those vertices, zoom in a little bit, and I can just change the shape of this by scaling on the Z-axis and then grabbing the whole thing and moving it up, and maybe a little bit narrow right there. So I'm going to go ahead and scale this out a little bit, and even I'll go back and change the bishop accordingly. In any case, now I can go ahead and start this, and I've got a third of my king done. So I'm just going to scale this up. This is going to get a little bit tedious, but again, it's just the same thing. Select that ring and then scale. So E to extrude, Z, lock it in place, and then just try to follow that. Sometimes I hit extrude and then Z to move it up, or sometimes I just hit extrude here and then just scale it straight. If I select it again and just scale it straight out, that's looking pretty good. So just as closely as you want to follow the edge of the king. It doesn't have to be exact, but you can make it look how you want it to look, and it's going to get my basic shape. The only thing that's not symmetrical around the Z-axis is going to be the cross on top, and I'm not even going to try to match that exactly. I'm just going to go in and make my own cross. It'll be pretty quick, and then I'll be done. So I might, see, I wouldn't have to. If I don't want to, I don't have to get that little extra collar piece right here, but let's go ahead and put it in anyway. And keep scaling and changing. Scale it right in. This is going to be a little bit quicker now. I'm going to just control extrude on the Z, extrude on the Z. Look for points of inflection. It kind of jets out a little bit more sharply right here. So now I'll extrude on the Z, move it in just a little bit, extrude on the Z, and move into that little hump part, extrude on the Z, and try to get this little rounded part up here, and keep doing this. And this is a lot quicker than starting from scratch, I think. And once you get this base part, then all I have to do is worry about that cross. And so I can see over, it's got a little rounded hump, and I'm just going to bring it up, kind of close it in here. Now at this point, I'm going to say, okay, that looks pretty good. If I hide my king at this point, let's see, come down, still name it bishop, I should name it king, but I'll do that a little bit later. And I'm just going to add a plane. Let's look at it from the top. And I'm going to subdivide it a few times. Come down here, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll go ahead and do 5. And so I can shift select these corners, and I'm going to delete these vertices. So I'll have already a cross shape, and it gives me a little bit of geometry now. So let's see, if I select just those two and scale on the X, bring those guys out, scale these two guys on the Z. Oh, actually, that's the wrong axis. Let me turn my screencast keys on. Okay, so let's see. Scale on the Z. Okay, I never rotated this guy, so I'm actually looking at it horizontally. So scale on the Y, and I'll rotate it here in a second. Anyway, scale on the X. So remember, the red axis is X, and the green axis is Y. So I can scale these guys. I could use a mirror modifier here, but I don't really need to. If I grab these 4 guys and scale in a little bit, I just get a different shape. And this guy, scale out. And these guys, I'm going to extrude and just sort of make this little tab. I'm going to insert that into my king. And that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and rotate this guy on the x-axis 180 degrees. And so now if I look straight down, tab back in, select all of them. I'll just extrude this guy out on the y-axis, and that looks pretty good. If I look at it here, I add a loop cut, and and even extrude, not extrude, but scale this guy out a little bit. So I just hit S and then Alt S, so it scales evenly in perpendiculars. And I'm going to just take that, and so now I'm ready to go. So if I take a look back at my king, you can see it's not the right size, but that's no problem. I need to scale this guy down. I'll grab him, move him up, scale him way down, and then grab him on the Z, and he looks pretty good. I want to even him up because I extruded this guy out. So if I go back into edit mode, I can see the origin is right on the edge. I want to move it to the center. We're actually going to move the vertices. So I just grab the vertices in edit mode. The origin is now right in the center, and that's good. I could add a subsurf in here. Let's see, first of all, let's join him to the king. So I select my cross, and then I select the king, and I join them. So shift select, and now I will join. So I could leave it just like this. I could put a subsurf in if I want to, and then it's going to really change the shape of that cross. So then I have to go back in and play around with that, add more loop cuts, make it more sharp and so forth. But I think it's okay just to leave it like this, and I'm going to call that done. So that looks pretty good. Okay, if I want to, I can just see what it looks like if I just add a material. Already got a material in here from the bishop, but let's just go ahead and make a quick material to see what it would look like. And get whatever you want. I'm just going to turn up the specularity, turn down the roughness, and see what that looks like. I'm happy with that. If I want to play around with the light, change it to a sunlight, drop it down to about 9, and that's good. I'm going to leave it right there. Okay, the queen is going to be the same thing. I'm just going to go ahead and save this file as queen, move this over now, and so now I'm working on a different file. My king is saved, and if I look at this, they're almost identical. And so I'm just going to go into my king and eat part of it. Sorry, I'm going to save it. Make sure I save it as my queen first. Anyway, so now I take this part, I'll just delete it. I delete those vertices, and now it's almost the same thing. Now, for time's sake, I'm not going to worry about those little scallop cuts in the top of the queen. I'm just going to go ahead and do the same thing I did to the king. I'm going to move this guy up, and it won't be as nice of a crown, but I want to get this done. So the point of this video is we can do this really quickly. And don't spend a lot of time, don't be too finicky. Let's just get it done, and we'll move on to the next project. Okay, so once I get all my pieces, I'm going to go ahead and move them into my chessboard, and we'll go ahead and change the materials. We have final materials. I've been playing around with lots of different materials, and so I'll choose, really I just need a few materials when I'm done, because I just need the same 2 materials I'm going to use for the chessboard, I'm going to use for my 2 sets of pieces. This is where things get a little bit strange. I'm just going to be quick here. I'm going to maybe scale this guy down a little bit, extrude down with that little ring. I'm not going to worry about the scallops. I could do this very much the same way I did the bishop, but I'm in a rush right now, so I'm just going to leave that out. And let's get this done. I do want that little rounded piece on top, so to do that, I'm going to go into add an icososphere, but I want to add a subdivision, one division of subdivision surface on this guy, and so I'm going to go back into object mode and add it so that the icososphere is going to have quads. If I go back into subdivision surface now, and I add 1, not 2, but just 1, and apply it, now I see I have all quads. And so now I can take that guy and move it however I want. And then I'm going to join this guy. Let's go in this. And it looks like I have got the top. So if I extrude this, and move it up. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, that looks terrible. Oh, I think instead of grabbing the top, I grabbed the bottom. Okay, so let me do this again. I'm going to grab the top. That looks horrible. Okay, let me see. I just grab that top vertex with my proportional editing turned on. I can go ahead and make that little hit. Okay, that is 10-minute warning for period 1. In any case, so now this guy looks pretty good. If I want to go back in, first of all, I'm going to join him. And if I'm back in object mode, I select my teardrop shape, shade it smooth, and now I shift select my queen, and I can hit Control J to join it. Now I can still change with the Control L. I have all my linked vertices, and go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. Okay, so that's it, and that's the whole thing.